Hello, hello. Welcome to What to Read Wednesdays, your go-to podcast for staff picks from your friends at Delaware County District Library. Here, we'll talk about books, podcasts, and other relevant media. I'm your host, Annie Pasma. Good morning, DCDL listeners. I'm so glad that you are tuning in once again. I would love to hear from you, of course, so please email me at whattoread@delawarelibrary.org. I have some fun things planned for the future of this podcast, and I would love your involvement. So just email me, tell me who you are, what you like about the podcast, suggestions, all that good stuff. The next thing I want to talk to you about real quickly is Summer Reading Club. It is going on until the end of August. So you can collect prizes, kids and adults, until August 31st. So don't be afraid to show us how much you've been reading. You can call in. You don't have to come in the building. You can call in, and we will bring your prizes out to you if that is your preference. So just let us know. The other thing I'd like to talk about real quickly is we at DCDL understand that the beginning of the school year is hectic and it's going to be difficult, and we are here to help you. Please contact us if there's any way that we can help you. Some of us in the children's department or youth services department are working at getting databases collected and just virtual programs, all kinds of things. So please keep your eyes open for announcements of how we are planning on helping you in the coming school year. But also, if there's something that you need, please contact us. We would love to help you in any way that we can. So, now that the housekeeping stuff is all taken care of, I think. Sometimes when I go off script, it scares me a little bit. But I think that's all that we need to discuss about that today. So, the first person that we're going to hear from is, of course, our favorite guest, Mark.
Hello, my name is Mark Stevens, and I work circulation at the PAL branch. The book I'd like to introduce you today is entitled A Sudden Light by Garth Stein. I would say this book is best for adult readers, but especially young adult readers, because the main character is a 14-year-old in a sort of coming-of-age story. For a change of pace, today I'm recommending a good, old-fashioned ghost story. This book is the latest from the author of the book, The Art of Racing in the Rain. If you are a dog lover, I expect you have either read that book or seen the movie. First of all, let me say, I'm a big fan of horror stories, but I think I have pretty high standards. I really don't like horror stories that are predictable and have gratuitous violence. If it seems hokey, then I significantly lower my rating of the book. I'm glad to say this book is well done, in my opinion, and not even that scary. I'd say the book is more creepy, and that's because of the large family mansion, over 100 years old, that is filled with unused hallways and rooms, secret passageways, and dusty antique furniture. Unlike many ghost stories, this book has well-developed characters and also themes of compassion and appreciation for nature, especially trees. The beliefs of Henry David Thoreau are important to the book, and the historical significance of Teddy Roosevelt creating the national park system is discussed. This book, while it does contain a love story, is mainly a family saga. You will meet 5 generations of the Riddell family. The most important character is 14-year-old Trevor, an only child stressed due to his parents' trial separation, brought to a head by his father's business going bankrupt. He accompanies his father back to the family estate, which his father has avoided for 23 years, and where Trevor meets his Aunt Serena and Grandpa Samuel. Yes, both of these relatives have issues and secrets, just as you will immediately suspect. A battle of wills ensues between the living characters and a ghost or two as to what to do with the decaying mansion and the 200 acres of surrounding forest land that haven't been sold yet by previous generations desperate for funds. Trevor's sense of fairness, decency, loyalty, and family are severely tested as he tries to navigate through a moral quandary. The other main character is the family patriarch, Trevor's great great grandfather, Elijah, who was a timber baron who made a huge fortune harvesting the forests of Washington state. He built the 50-room Riddell house and ruled his sons and grandson with an iron hand, which, as you might have gathered, had tragic consequences. To me, this book was a page turner. It even had a family tree in the front of the book, which for some reason always makes me immediately like a book more. I hope you will give this creepy ghost story of 416 pages a try. It's available on Libby.
Thank you, Mark. I think one of these episodes we're probably going to do the Mark special because I have heard feedback of how people love his reviews, the way that he sees books, perspective, all of that stuff. So, Mark, be ready because there will probably be an episode of the Mark special. Next, we're going to hear from Kristin. She is reviewing the book The Last Flight by Julie Clark. The Last Flight by Julie Clark follows Claire, who's been planning a way to escape her abusive husband. When her plans go awry, her desperation connects her with another young woman, Eva, at the airport. They decide to switch tickets and take each other's flights. But when Eva's plane crashes, Claire realizes that while she might have escaped one life, her new one is just as complicated as she deals with new secrets and lies. This book felt different from some of the other suspense books out right now due to its unpredictability. Kristin could never really guess what was going to happen next or how everything was connected. The main characters were complex and interesting, and Kristin was reading fast to find out what happened to them next. It is a good mix of suspense and a bit of women's fiction with a timely storyline of women fighting for control of their own lives, where their voices are heard. Read-alikes for this book are Dear Wife by Kimberly Bell, The Last Mrs. Parrish by Liv Constantine, and Behind the Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. Next, we're going to hear again from CJ. CJ says that she is reading Silent Sparks, The Wondrous World of Fireflies by Sarah Lewis, and she knows already that this book is one that she will return to again and again. Sarah Lewis is a professor of biology at Tufts University. She has been fascinated by fireflies since childhood. She has traveled the world to view and study firefly behavior, population dynamics, and conservation. As a scientist, she works hard to stay susceptible to wonder, even as she focuses on the biological details of these amazing creatures. She is an able storyteller, and her stories and the diagrams and photographs that accompany them make her writing accessible to all types of readers. She describes many aspects of firefly life, the chemistry of their cold light, the language of their flashes, how fireflies evolved to have the ability to produce light, just to name a few. There are nearly 2,000 species of fireflies in the world, and new species are still being discovered. Some fireflies glow, others flash, and some populations flash simultaneously. A field guide to fireflies is included at the end of the book. Finally, she discusses reasons that firefly populations are decreasing and ways that we can create environments that support firefly population in our backyards and local parks. Thank you, CJ. I'm sure that anyone who grew up in the country, especially, remembers summer nights and the fireflies. I certainly do. Next, we're going to hear from Hilary, who is, of course, one of the children's librarians. Wow, I can't talk today. Hilary is one of our children's librarians at the Powell branch.
Hi everyone, it's Hilary from the Powell branch of the Delaware Library, and I'm bringing the love back for today's podcast. I hope you're ready for some great love stories. My first recommendation is Love Indeed by L.B. Dunbar. Sometimes it takes an outsider to force us to see who we are. The real struggle is accepting what we learn. For Beverly Townsend, nothing could be closer to the truth. A virtual shut-in, Beverly has pulled back from Green Valley's community, preferring the isolation of her farmhouse and her daily routine of viewing home improvement television shows. When the opportunity arises for her own home improvement and a personal reassessment, she's not so excited about the reality of real life versus DIY programs. Jed Fleming understands physical pain and personal loss, but it's never stopped him from bucking forward in life. A former military man and rodeo star, his life as a nomad comes to an end with false accusations and a family matter back in the valley. It's been a long journey to find his way home, and once there, there's nothing he wants more than to reclaim what he's lost. And maybe the elusive female recluse who holds a sliver of his past. With an unprecedented proposition, Beverly finds a stranger living in her barn, raising horses on borrowed pastures, and plowing his way into her vacant heart. Old hurts linger, but sometimes love indeed is louder than words. This is a cute small-town romance featuring a silver fox and a woman who learns to push past her limitations and get a new lease on life.
Thank you, Hilary. All right, I have a special treat for all you storytellers out there. Mr. George has a review he wants to share with you. If any of our listeners have children in the Delaware City school system, you are, I'm sure, aware of Mr. George. He is our favorite neighborhood librarian. He puts on awesome programs like Mr. George's Neighborhood, does amazing story times, and is well known by the elementary school kids. So without further ado, here is Mr. George.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mr. George from the Delaware County District Library, Main Library. I wanted to share the book, Deadly Aim, The Civil War Story of Michigan's Anishinaabe Sharpshooters by Sally M. Walker. This is a newer book from July of last year, 2019, and I wanted to share it because it really moved me. This is a history of Native Americans who fought in the Civil War. This is a history that not many folks know about. This book is great for grades 4 up to 125 years old, really. I'll talk more about that later. But this history is something that many folks do not know about, especially kids here in Ohio dealing with the state of Michigan's Native Americans. It's so close to us that this is very personal and very interesting. These tribes had been treated poorly by the U.S. government, but yet during the Civil War, they decided to fight for them. They were not drafted. They volunteered to fight for the United States. There were many reasons behind that the book goes into it, but one of the main reasons, one group, the Anishinaabe, really got behind it was the fact that this was the best of two evils, that the U.S. government was fighting against slavery, and that was something they didn't want to become slaves. And they said, this is something we need to take care of ourselves. And that's one of the reasons why they joined. But there were many other reasons that you have to read the book to find out. They had special skills. They needed to be excellent riflemen. They need excellent sharpshooting skills to survive. They would hunt, and this made them excellent sharpshooters in the Civil War. It talks about the monotony of war, of waiting around, and also the extreme excitement, the extreme reality of battle. So I love that it's not just, oh, it's adventure, but it also talks about the monotony of it and the culture of war with different cultures aspects. One of the things I really thought was fascinating, one of the soldiers during the monotony of waiting around, they want to fight, and one of the soldiers just went home, just left, which was desertion. But what was interesting, he was brought back and they discussed in their tribe, if they're not fighting, they're home taking care of family. And no charges were put against them for desertion because the judge and in the court, they had discussed about the Anishinaabe and their culture of war. They were fighters. They didn't just sit around and wait to fight, which I found really interesting that even then they would look at culture and look at differences here in the United States and not just have a fine line. Also, another really interesting story, kind of with the monotony of war, that back then there were local laws that said you could not serve adult beverages to Native Americans. And in one town, a bartender had served them because they were soldiers. And he was going to go to jail. But during the court case, they had realized, wait, these were soldiers. These were property of the U.S. government. They weren't just private citizens. They weren't just, or Native Americans. They weren't just Native Americans. They were soldiers. So that they actually dropped the charges against the bartender. Very interesting. A lot of interesting stories that you wouldn't think of. But some stories that will make you upset in a good way, make you think, but also make you think about the culture of the United States and the differences that we all have within our own groups, within our own states, within our own small towns. And also learning about the history of Native American connections with the U.S. government. But one of the things that grabs is the action in this, the heroism, the going above and beyond yourself that these Native Americans did during the Civil War. Well, I hope you enjoy the book. Again, it's called Deadly Aim, The Civil War Story of Michigan's Anishinaabe Sharpshooters by Sally M. Walker. It's available at DelawareLibrary.org to reserve online and pick up here at the library via curbside pickup. And also through DelawareLibrary.org, if you click on our ebook section under Hoopla, you can download the audiobook as well. Well, hope you really enjoy this book. I really did. See you in the library sometime soon.
Thank you for that wonderful review, Mr. George. Okay, so I'm going to do something a little bit differently today. I'm going to tell you what I'm reading right now, what I'm listening to, and what I'm looking forward to. So the first thing that I want to mention is what I'm reading now, which is What the Heck Should I Eat by Mark Hyman. Recently, I came across an interview with Mark Hyman, who is the president of the Cleveland Clinic. He talked about how eating the right food not only helps your health, but can also help the environment and the economy, which I thought was an interesting take. His newest book is The Food Fix, but I wanted to start with one of his more popular books. What I'm listening to right now is called Intellectuals and Society by Thomas Sowell. I became aware of Thomas Sowell, spelled Sowell, probably like a year ago. He is an economist, or an economic professor at Stanford University, and is also a cultural commentator. The subjects that he writes about are sometimes tough to grasp, but he is really good about making it understandable. I love how his foundation to all of his arguments are facts, and the story of his life is pretty amazing as well. His audiobooks are really fantastic. All the ones that I've listened to so far have the same narrator, and he does a really, really great job. The next one that I'm probably going to do is Disparities and Discrimination, I think. It's Disparities in something. I have it on hold. Once I start reading it, I'll let you know. The book that I'm looking forward to is A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. Her book, Uprooted, was my favorite book of 2015. A deadly forest, a clumsy girl, a sarcastic and cold wizard. Need I say more? Maybe, but anyway, look it up. It's awesome. Novak does an amazing job of world building in both Uprooted and her other book, Spinning Silver. And she's an all-around good writer. So I'm really looking forward to this new series called A Deadly Education, which comes out mid-September. That's all that we have for today. I know it's a little bit longer than what I normally do, but I just had so much content that I wanted to get in here. So again, please let me know how we're doing at whatoread@delawarelibrary.org, and I will see you next time. I'm your host, Annie Pasma. Thanks for listening.